Somewhere between 35 and 45, a silent transformation takes place in many women. It is not a subtle evolution of wisdom or maturity, it is a seismic shift in her very wiring. The same woman who once built her identity around being a wife, a mother, and the anchor of stability suddenly feels those very roles suffocating her. Biologically, her hormones are no longer the same. Estrogen, the hormone that once made her body thrive on nurturing and connection, begins to fluctuate and decline. The chemicals that made her brain light up at small romantic gestures now demand something more intense, more stimulating, more thrilling. What used to be enough, a steady husband, a safe home, a predictable routine, feels strangely hollow. Psychologically, she is confronted with a brutal paradox. She has achieved the very life she once dreamed of, yet her inner world whispers, "Is this all there is?" The mornings filled with school runs and folded laundry no longer ground her. They remind her of time slipping through her fingers. The years she devoted to family suddenly feel like years stolen from her youth. This isn't just a midlife crisis, it's the collapse of an identity. For 2 decades, she was validated effortlessly, admired for her beauty, desired by men, envied by peers. But at 40, the mirror begins to tell a different story, and with every wrinkle, every change in her body, her sense of value starts to unravel. That's why the shift around 40 is so dangerous. It's not just about aging, it's about a woman realizing she's no longer the person she thought she was. Her biology, her psychology, and her sense of self are rewriting themselves in real time. And when identity crumbles, everything built on top of it, marriage, family, stability, stands on shaking ground. From the moment a girl is old enough to understand the world, a single message is whispered into her ears and reinforced at every turn. Your value is your beauty. Be pretty, be desirable, be chosen. Through her teens and 20s, this message isn't questioned. It's rewarded. Compliments, stares, offers, attention. Men approach without hesitation. Society praises her without effort, and her very existence feels validated simply by being seen. Between 15 and 35, the system works perfectly. She is wanted, pursued, admired. That constant stream of attention becomes the air she breathes, the foundation of her identity. But then, biology does what biology always does. It takes back what it gave. At 40, the reflection staring back at her isn't the same. It's not that she looks terrible, it's that she looks different. And in that difference lies the fracture. The face that once drew endless eyes now struggles to hold a glance. The body that once made men reckless now receives polite courtesy at best. This is where the crisis begins. Because for decades, her very self worth was tied to that desirability. She was conditioned to believe, I am loved because I am beautiful. I am valuable because I am wanted. But when that desirability begins to fade, her identity collapses with it. Who is she if she's no longer the beautiful woman in the room? To understand the weight of this collapse, imagine a professional athlete. His entire identity is tied to performance, scoring goals, breaking records, winning crowds. Then age arrives. He can still play, but not like before. The world stops cheering, younger stars take his place, and suddenly the applause that defined his existence is gone. For him, it's devastating. For women at 40, multiply that devastation by 10, because beauty isn't just their applause, it has been their currency, their shield, their proof of worth. Without it, many feel invisible, and invisibility is unbearable. This is why so many women at this stage don't simply accept the shift. They panic. They buy creams, chase diets, change wardrobes, book procedures, download dating apps, not because they are vain, but because they are starving to feel seen again, to feel valuable again, to feel like they matter. But here's the brutal truth. The very validation they're chasing is the most fragile, fleeting thing in the world. A compliment from a stranger can now mean more to her than a decade of loyalty from her husband, because his attention is locked in, obligated. But the stranger's attention? That feels chosen. And in her collapsing sense of self, chosen matters more than committed. This is identity collapse in its rawest form. When a woman's worth is built on beauty, the fading of beauty isn't just about appearance, it's about the implosion of who she believes she is. When beauty fades and validation slips away, most women reach a fork in the road. One path is acceptance, a graceful transition into a new identity, one rooted in wisdom, depth, and inner worth. The other path is panic. And in today's culture, panic is the default. This panic doesn't arrive loudly at first. It creeps in silently, like a storm gathering on the horizon. It starts with small things, longer stares in the mirror, obsessive comparisons to younger women, a sudden fascination with beauty routines she once dismissed. She begins to ask herself questions she never asked before. Do I still have it? Do men still notice me? Do I matter outside of being a wife and mother? The answers terrify her, and instead of confronting the fear, she looks outward, for proof, for validation, for oxygen. That's why compliments hit differently at 40. What was once background noise in her 20s now feels like a lifeline. A stranger's smile, a coworker's comment, a passing glance, these become powerful hits of dopamine. They remind her she's still visible, still desirable, still in the game. And once she tastes that feeling again, it's addictive. Here's where the danger begins. Your devotion no longer counts. You're her husband. Your love is assumed. Your attention is expected. But the attention of another man, that feels like victory over time itself. Proof she isn't irrelevant. Proof she still has options. And in her panic, that proof becomes more intoxicating than your years of loyalty. This is why midlife panic destroys families, because instead of turning inward and finding strength in what she's built, she looks outward, chasing the high of being chosen again. The gym trainer who notices her progress, the old flame who messages her online, the coworker who compliments her hair. Suddenly, these men aren't just harmless background characters. They become symbols of youth, vitality, and lost possibility. And here's the cruel truth. Stability, the very thing you worked so hard to give her, becomes the enemy. Routine feels like a cage. Predictability feels like death. And you, the safe and dependable husband, represent everything she's trying to outrun. Aging, responsibility, ordinary life. So she panics. She buys lingerie she hasn't worn in years. Not for you, but for the idea of being desired again. She downloads dating apps, not because she wants a new husband, but because she craves the thrill of being swiped right on. She reconnects with divorced friends who cheer her on, telling her she deserves better. What began as whispers of insecurity snowball into a full rebellion against reality. Instead of accepting time, she declares war on it. And in that war, nothing is sacred. Not her marriage, not her vows, not even her children's stability. Because the hunger for validation feels bigger than all of it. This is the essence of the midlife panic. A woman at war, not with her husband, but with time itself. And in that battle, the family often becomes collateral damage, undeniable. Men often miss them, not because they aren't there, but because they don't want to see them. By the time the truth becomes obvious, the marriage is already on fire. Here are the stages, the red flags that mark the countdown. 1. The nostalgia phase. It starts with her looking backward more than forward. She digs up old photos, laughs at memories of her wild days, and talks about her exes with something other than disgust. Suddenly, stories of her 20s carry a sparkle in her eyes, a tone of longing. She isn't just reminiscing, she's comparing her current life of stability with the chaos and excitement she once knew. 2. The influence of new friends. Then come the new friends, not the long-term companions who shared her journey, but freshly divorced women, women finding themselves, women whose anthem is "You deserve better." They invite her to wine nights that are less about fun and more about grievance sessions. Every husband becomes a villain. Every marriage becomes a cage. What was once normal now gets reframed as oppression, and your steady, reliable love begins to look like a prison sentence in comparison. 3. The social media mirage. At the same time, her phone becomes her new mirror. Hours spent scrolling through highlight reels of other women her age who seem to be thriving, glamorous vacations, fitness transformations, love stories at 40. Algorithms feed her exactly what her panicking brain wants: proof that it's not too late to start over, proof that other women are doing it, proof that happiness is just one dramatic decision away. 4. The physical reinvention. The next sign is written on her body. At first, it looks like self-care: new skincare routines, a sharper haircut, maybe some extra time at the gym. But then it escalates. Clothes get younger, exercise turns obsessive, diets become extreme, procedures she once swore she'd never do suddenly appear on the calendar. Every purchase, every change is less about health and more about desperation, the desperate attempt to rewind the clock. 5. The emotional withdrawal. And finally, the most dangerous stage, the emotional drift. She becomes less present, less invested. She starts needing more me time, making mysterious plans you're not included in. She picks fights over nothing, or worse, becomes eerily pleasant. Both are bad signs. The fights mean she's building a case against you. The sweetness means she's already guilty. Her phone becomes an extension of her arm, guarded, flipped over, always within reach. She may say it's just work or just a friend, but the secrecy speaks louder than words. At this point, you're not her partner. You're her alibi. The unspoken truth. These aren't random behaviors. They're the warning sirens of a marriage in freefall: nostalgia, toxic influences, social media illusions, physical reinvention, and emotional withdrawal. Each is a step closer to the edge. The tragedy? Most men dismiss these signs until it's too late. They believe her when she says she just wants space, or that the new friends are harmless, or that the new fitness obsession is about health. They keep telling themselves it's a phase, but a phase doesn't end. It escalates, and by the time they see the pattern for what it is, the detonation has already begun. If the midlife panic were only an internal struggle, some women might wrestle it down. But here's the problem: she's not fighting this war alone. Society is her army, whispering in her ear, cheering her on as she burns everything down. Every magazine headline, every talk show, every influencer feeds her the same script: you deserve to be happy. Never settle. It's never too late to start over. Her panic isn't questioned, it's validated. Her craving for novelty isn't seen as a crisis, it's reframed as bravery. If she destroys her family in pursuit of her truth, she isn't condemned, she's applauded. She becomes strong, independent, fearless. Society doesn't just forgive the wreckage, society celebrates it. Even the professionals meant to guide her often feed the spiral. Instead of challenging her to face reality, many therapists and life coaches hand her the easy answer: follow your heart. Her divorced friends echo it at wine nights. Social media influencers glamorize it in motivational reels. It becomes an echo chamber where every voice tells her the same thing: your feelings are more important than your commitments. Look around. TV shows, movies, even ads celebrate the woman who breaks free, the wife who leaves her dull, predictable husband for adventure, the mother who abandons responsibilities to find herself. They sell rebellion as liberation, and she buys it, because it's easier to believe she's a hero than to admit she's afraid of aging. But here's the silence that chills me. Nobody talks about the aftermath. Nobody shows the woman 6 months later when the thrill wears off. Nobody films the Christmas morning her kids choose to stay with dad. Nobody interviews her when she realizes the new boyfriend is just another man, flawed and ordinary. The narrative ends at the moment she chooses herself. Society applauds the leap, but never shows the crash landing. This is why the midlife panic escalates so fast. She isn't just fighting her biology. She's backed by an entire culture telling her destruction equals empowerment. Instead of a voice of reason saying, beauty fades, but character remains, she hears, you only live once. Instead of being told to build on what she has, she's told to throw it away for what she feels. The result? Panic that might have been temporary becomes permanent rebellion, and instead of a phase that passes, it becomes a choice that destroys. When men hit their 40s, society whispers a very different story than it tells women. For men, aging can be a strange kind of blessing. The wrinkles on his face are called distinguished. His graying hair earns him the flattering title of silver fox. His value, in many ways, goes up. Why? Because now he has what women have always been told to seek: stability, experience, resources. His midlife crisis doesn't come from losing value in the dating market. It comes from boredom, from realizing he has the means to indulge old fantasies. So he buys the sports car. He takes the spontaneous trip. He embarrasses himself with new hobbies or clothes meant for younger men. It's cringe, yes, but it rarely destroys the family. For women, the story is the complete opposite. Society tells her every birthday after 35 is a funeral for her youth, that her desirability, her currency, is expiring, that she is becoming invisible. Her midlife crisis isn't about toys or hobbies. It's about survival, denial of aging, rebellion against the mirror, affairs to prove she still matters. And unlike the man's crisis, hers doesn't just embarrass her. It often detonates the very foundation of her family. But here's the darker twist. When she acts on that panic, when she blows up her marriage, she doesn't leave quietly. She rewrites the story. Suddenly, the 15 or 20 years of laughter, vacations, anniversaries, and love letters, all fake. She claims she was miserable all along, that you were abusive, controlling, neglectful. She rewrites the history of the marriage, not because it's true, but because she needs to be the hero of her new story. If she admitted the truth that she destroyed a good life for a fleeting rush, she'd have to face unbearable guilt. So instead, she paints herself as the brave survivor and you as the villain. And in this rewritten story, the children become collateral damage. She convinces herself they'll understand someday, but what they really inherit is confusion, instability, and scars they'll carry into their own relationships. So, what's a man to do? First, recognize the signs early. If your wife obsesses over youth, romanticizes her past, or constantly seeks external attention, the countdown has begun. Second, understand this: it is not your fault. You cannot fix someone's war with time. You could be the perfect husband, and it wouldn't matter, because perfection is predictable, and predictable doesn't release dopamine. Third, protect yourself and your children. Document everything. Secure your finances. Don't get blindsided, because once panic turns into rebellion, she will burn down everything in her path, including you. Now, it's important to say this: not all women go down this road. There are women who embrace aging with dignity, who understand that beauty fades but character endures. Women who see loyalty as more valuable than novelty, and who know being chosen once and cherished forever is worth more than being chosen endlessly and discarded repeatedly. But these women are becoming rare. Modern culture trains women to chase feelings, not foundations, to confuse excitement with meaning, to value temporary butterflies over lasting depth. And so, when the mirror changes and the years weigh heavy, many are unprepared for the storm. The lesson for men is simple: see the signs early, protect yourself, and understand it's not about you. You can't save someone from a war against time. Some women will detonate no matter how strong the marriage. Others, rarer but wiser, will walk through aging with grace. And in the end, the difference between the two is the difference between a marriage that endures and a family that explodes, like share and subscribe.